Hello. Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven. It's Friday night. That means it's time for movie and TV talk. And with me, as usual, the cast of crazies, John Norris, and the today bandit.
Hello, everybody.
So it's been a crazy day, hasn't it, boys?
A little bit. I got here late because, well, Angie and I are addicted to the new Matlock with Kathy Bates.
So,
neither of you watched that show?
No.
It's really good.
Okay, you say so. Alrighty, folks. It is quite an interesting evening tonight. End of February already.
I know. Creeped up.
So let's see what we've got to start with tonight. Our discussion is about a 2018 film called Replicas, starring Keanu Reeves, directed by Jeffrey Nachmanoff, screenplay by Chad St. John, from a story by Stephen Hamel, not Stephen Amell, but Hamel, produced by Lorenza Di Bonaventura, Mark Gao, Stephen Hamel, Keanu Reeves, and Luis A. Riefkohl. Starring Keanu Reeves, Alice Eve, Thomas Middleditch, or Middleditch, either way.
Gotta love the faux pas.
Yeah. Hey, it could be, I don't know how it's pronounced. Either way, that's a heck of a last name to have. John Ortiz, Emily, Alan Lind, MJ Anthony, and Ariel Lebeau. Edited by Pedro Javier Nunez. Music by Mark Killian and Jose Ojeda. Production companies: Di Bonaventura Pictures, Riverstone Pictures, Company Films, Ingenious Media, Remstar Studios, Fundamental Films, Lotus Entertainment, 74850, and Global Pictures Media LLC, and Ocean Park Entertainment. Good Lord. Why do we have to have so many production companies for this film?
You know, I always felt that if it has like more than like two production companies, that it was probably like hard to get made. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah. Distributed by Entertainment Studios Motion Pictures. Ooh. Release dates November 2014 at the Night Visions Film Festival and January 11th, 2019 in the United States, with a running time of 107 minutes. Somehow this film had a budget of $30 million. I think it all went to Keanu Reeves' paycheck.
That's possible.
Maybe Alice Eve got something. I don't know.
Well, that and the robot.
That box office was only 9.3 million, folks. Oh boy, what are we looking at here? What is it about? William Foster, Reeves, and Ed Middleditch are biomedical research scientists working for Bionine Corporation in Puerto Rico, attempting to transfer the mind of a dead soldier into an android with superhuman strength, codenamed Subject 345. Foster specializes in synthetic biology and mapping of the mind's neural pathways, while Whittle's specialty is reproductive human cloning. Foster successfully captures the soldier's neural map and transfers it into the android's synthetic brain, but the experiment fails when the soldier recoils in horror at the android body when he sees it in the mirror and destroys it, killing himself again. Foster's boss, Jones, warns him that if he can't get Subject 345 to work, the company shareholders will shut the whole project down and they'll be out of a job. Foster then goes and takes his wife, Mona, and his three stepchildren, or not stepchildren, just three children, Sophie, Matt, and Zoe, although sometimes I think they are stepchildren. I don't know. The way he treats these, we'll get to that in a minute, on a boating trip, but on the way, all except William are killed in a car crash. Nothing like going on a boating trip on a vacation after your boss tells you that if you don't get this fixed and working, we're going to shut you down. But, whatever, right?
Right.
Now that he's determined to resurrect his dead family, he coaxes Ed to bring him the bionic equipment necessary to extract his family's neural maps and the clone replacement bodies for them. He successfully extracts the neural maps and tells Whittle to dispose of the bodies, but the first major obstacle of his plan presents itself. Only 3 cloning pods are available, forcing him to choose one of the family to sacrifice. He chooses Zoe, the youngest, and erases her memory from the neural maps of the other 3. Man, he's good. All right.
Right.
Whittle starts the 17-day cycle required to create mature replacement clones for foster family, also known as this Foster's foster family. see what I mean about stepchildren, and tells them he only has that long to solve the problem of integrating the neural maps into their clone bodies, or else they will start to deteriorate by aging at an abnormally fast rate. Lord knows why. Integrating the mind into a biological clone was phase 2 of the research project to be solved after android transfer, which hadn't been solved yet. Foster is forced to keep this secret since he and Whittle had stolen millions of dollars of bionic equipment and are breaking bioethics. He spends the 17 days removing evidence of Zoe's existence from his home and creating cover stories of illness to explain his family's absence from work, school, and social media contact, instead of trying to figure out how to do this, right? When Foster notices his wife Central's nervous system reacting to his touch, he realizes that the reason subject 345 has failed is because the mind expects a connection to a biological body with a heartbeat and respiration rather than a synthetic one. He knows now that a transfers into the clones will not be a problem, and the failure of android transfer can be solved by simulating or programming a simulated mind-body interface to make the android body appear or feel biological. He successfully transfers the minds of his loved ones into their clone bodies, and then goes back to work to creating a synthetic mind-body interface. When the next dead body he receives has suffered too much brain damage to be viable, he resorts to recording his own mind for the android transfer. Meanwhile, Sophie has a nightmare of her mother's death, and Mona catches him erasing her memory of the event. He confesses that they died in a car crash and that he resurrected them. Uh-oh.
Well, Raggy.
The family soon discovers evidence of Zoe's existence that he missed, and then he admits, well, I couldn't save her, so I had to erase her memories of you because then you'd be upset. I was trying. John confronts Foster, reveals that he's been aware of the whole shenanigans going on. And he tells them that the research is not actually intended for medical purposes, but was being financed by the U.S. government to provide a military weapon, and so Foster's family are loose ends and will be eliminated. Foster destroys the mind-body interface, incapacitates Jones. I wanted to say decapitates Jones, but he didn't, and flees, attempting to escape by boat. But Jones's henchmen capture the family. Foster pursues them to Bionine. Word is clear that Whittle was the one who sold them out the entire time because, well, why would he do anything on the up and up anyway? Jones kills Whittle and then forces Foster to finish Subject 345. Of course, Jones didn't realize that Foster was going to upload his own mind into Subject 345 and then turns around and kills the henchman and mortally wounds Jones. The two Fosters then make a deal with Jones. You can have a clone body and become rich by working with Foster 345, selling clone transfers to wealthy people looking for a second life. Meanwhile, real Foster is allowed to retire in peace with his family, including a newly cloned Zoe. Okay. I guess everybody agrees with that? All right. So what did we think about this movie, gentlemen? Let's start with John.
All right. So I saw this movie for the first time this week. I didn't see it when it came out. I don't even remember hearing about it when it came out.
That's about it.
And, judging by the poor box office, I wasn't the only one. Sometimes I read reviews beforehand, sometimes I don't. And for this one, I didn't. So I went in, pretty fresh. And I have to say, while I was watching it, like I was engaged in the movie. And it wasn't and it wasn't until afterward where I did start going back and reading reviews, like, oh, yeah, I can see where those negative to middle of the road reviews are coming from. But it's one of those movies where the concept was greater than the execution, I think.
That's fair.
100%.
But the concept was at least intriguing enough to keep me watching all the way through. And you can you can talk plausibility or implausibility, and you can talk about Keanu Reeves's wooden acting, which, let's face it, people have always said about him. But I mean, I do think
But this is the thing. He plays a.
But I actually feel that works better in this movie than other
Yeah, I was going to
movies.
say, in this film, it fits.
And because he's playing this. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. I like, for all its faults, I should say, it does ask the question. I think it does ask the question, what would you do in this situation? Because I mean, I'm sure we've heard plenty of people say, they wish they could bring a loved one back, and having played my share of funerals as a church musician, different people deal with death in different ways, and some people, don't show or try not to show emotion, and you could say that his character, I mean, he's so focused on science that he doesn't appreciate who he has in his life until he loses them. And like the scene that stands out for me is the scene toward the beginning, before the accident, where he says, we're the sum total of what has happened and how we process it. And basically, to him, we're all just walking neuroscience. And, to which his wife says, do you really believe that? Are we just, signals and chemistry, and it's like, look at who you have right in front of you. You have kids that love you and a wife that adores you, and we have a scientist. So I think whatever else you can say about the movie, I think it does present those 2 points. What would you do if you could, and do you appreciate what and who you have while you have it?
Right.
Okay, that's fair.
And it also poses the bigger question: are we more than our brain? Are we more than just a bunch of, ones and zeros, biological, signals? Is there actually a soul? What actually makes a human being?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Chris, you go ahead and continue.
I just had a conversation with my pencil earlier today, and it had more life to it than Keanu Reeves when he was acting. No, They're dead. Oh my God. What am I going to do? I'm sorry. Keanu Reeves is probably like one of the greatest people on earth. He's supposedly like so nice and generous and is just a fantastic, wonderful person. But I'm sorry, the man cannot act. Like, except for a few specific roles, like The Matrix. I don't know why, but that, fit for me. And of course, Bill and Ted. That being said, I did like the movie. But Keanu's acting and some pretty big plot points that were just kind of fudged for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess I didn't get at first that they were building that android body for the army.
Mm.
So at the end, I was thinking, why, if they had such problems with the android body, why didn't they just clone the original soldier's body to put his mind back in it?
Right. Well, part of it is because they didn't know if the cloning technology was going to work. So they were trying
to. Keanu's friend obviously did.
Mm-hmm.
And where the hell did they get? How the hell were they able to make Zoe and bring her back if he couldn't originally? Like, I only have 3 pods, man. I can't, And then all of a sudden at the end, she's like, "Oh, Daddy," and now they're all connected to her. Like they completely forgot. She was erased from their memories.
Mm-hmm.
But now all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, Zoe."
Well, he put his memories back into theirs and all that stuff. I don't know, camera don't show, but that like this, yeah. But who was more wooden, Keanu or Alice Eve?
I don't mind Alice.
Okay.
And plus, we got to see more of Alice's talents.
Okay.
We got to see all of her talents. So that was a plus for the movie.
All right.
Yeah, I don't mind her acting. She's not bad.
All right. I tend to agree with you. This film should be called Swiss Cheese Plot Hole Mountain. I could go on for an hour just listing all the plot holes in this movie, but I'm not going to. But you named 2 of the big ones. How did they bring Zoe back and have her all that squared away? That was one of them. Like I said, if Whittle had been telling him Jones about the whole thing the whole time, you'd think that they would have stopped a lot sooner than they did and took over the operation.
You would think.
Just a whole lot of things that just didn't quite. Like I said, when you're told you're going to be fired if you don't get this done, you don't go on a vacation with your family.
Well, his wife was a surgeon, right? So he wasn't worried about the money, obviously.
Yeah. So I was like, I just kind of, but yeah, like you say, like John said, really good concept. The story just needed a whole lot of rewrites to make it make sense. I don't think Reeves' acting is as wooden as you two, but I'm not a huge fan of the guy, but I mean, I've seen worse, a lot worse. My main problem was just the story plot was just so off at different points that I was just like, okay, you tell your family and friends and everybody else that they're all sick, and that's why they're off social media for like 2 weeks. And it's like, okay, when they come back, are they supposed to interact with each other? Or are they going to go, hey, how's your sister Zoe?
Right.
Who?
Yeah.
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 What are you talking about?
Not to mention, he should have brought Zoe back and left that little brat son dead. Like he was a little shit, man. Like he made the wrong choice.
Yeah. Well, that's the yeah. Well, he made that choice because he has to have the son for the progeny down the road.
I guess, yeah.
Either way, yeah, it was kind of weird that they did that.
And what was going on with? I feel like there was some unresolved little Easter egg, little things in there that they did, like Alice Eve's character acting so weird and going like, oh, like she remembered, she had vague, memories of being impaled and all that, and like they didn't go anywhere with that. I thought, I was like, so are they going to be like, zombies? Are they going to turn into something weird, or are they going to be like hyper violent, or like
I mean, you were waiting and it never came, right?
Yeah, or are the wounds going to like manifest themselves back in the body because the brain remembers it, just stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that they could have done that they just did not do. Just remembering though is just a total, even if it doesn't manifest in other aspects, just the memory of it is traumatic.
Yeah.
So it's like, when they start recovering, remembering things, I was expecting them to actually start deteriorating, like it was mentioned. They're going to deteriorate really fast and become zombie effect. That's exactly what I was expecting when I watched it. And it was like, I think that's another reason why I was kind of like, man, this thing had so much potential and it just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I feel like government funded, assassin robots was like the least interesting avenue they could have taken.
Yeah. What do you think about what we're talking about, John?
I mean, I can't argue with any of it.
Yeah. Okay, well, what did you guys think of it, grade-wise? Let's see. John gave it a 3.5. Chris gave it a 3.5. For all the complaining?
Well, and again, for me, it's mostly on concept, not execution. But
yeah.
And then I did enjoy this, and I thought the CG was great. The CG was very passable. I did enjoy the movie. It's just there were certain parts that were just kind of hard to get around for me.
Yeah. I gave it a 2. But that's me being my editor self.
Yes.
And my writer self more than anything else. I think the acting was fine. It was okay to watch. It wasn't like a complete waste of time. But I kept like saying, it's 3:45, William. Do you know where your family is? Throughout this whole movie. It's like I kept waiting for the family to like just tear, because they got the clone bodies. I kept like saying, why can't they be the like robot versions of them too on top of it?
Tear their faces off. Yeah, I was waiting for the family to do something extreme.
Yeah. Or the family got mad, or the robot got mad. Hey, you made them work.
Right. And I'm not sure I buy the downloading, like Keanu downloading his brain into the robot, into the android, and the android being perfectly fine with just, hey, you go, I'll take care of this, don't worry about it. And then he ends up being like a corporate bigwig.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. It's interesting, but I actually liked the extras more so than the movie.
Oh, I didn't see the extras. So what were the extras?
Well, they went into the special effects and different things that had to be done for making the sets for the lab, and all the different, and how do we make this lab look like it's going to be able to do what they're supposed to be using it for, but still be like barely put together.
Right. So were the androids at all practical, or were they totally CG?
They were practical and CG.
Oh, okay, cool. That impresses me.
Yeah.
That's where part of the budget went to.
Yeah. And they had some other, things about, like you say, what would you do if you were in this situation, which is one of the key themes. So,
Yeah.
I think part of this kind of resonated with me because, as John knows, I lost my girlfriend many years ago to a drunk driver, and yeah, this would have been something I would do is clone her, if I could, but at the same time, I've had that nightmare. That's what it always comes out to be, a nightmare, where you resurrect them and they always remember how they die.
Right.
And it drives them crazy. That's the only thing that's my brain thinking. And so I think of it as, no, I don't want that for anybody. And that was what I was expecting the characters to do. And in the way they did, but they didn't take it far enough. Because that wasn't the theme that they wanted to go with for the story. They wanted the story to be the happy ending, so to speak. And it just didn't.
Which always makes me wonder if they filmed a non-happy ending.
Mm-hmm. I didn't mention it in the extras.
And I'm pretty sure part of the CG budget went towards making Keanu Reeves have emotion. Like, damn it, Keanu. We need you to look sad here. Oh, just screw it. Just CG it afterwards. They bring in a CG emotion actor with like the little dial, things all over their face, so they can be like.
He showed more affection when he lost his dog in John Wick, man.
Right? Exactly. Of course, I probably would too. So, like.
Yeah, so who are you to say?
Right? Yeah. I think we've discussed this when somebody, is like, oh, if you say you'd shoot someone if they hurt your dog, or you'd hurt someone if they hurt your dog, that means that you like dogs more than you like people. And I'm like, and? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think that was obvious.
Yes.
But overall, I mean, it's not a bad movie.
It's not a bad movie.
It kind of gets you in the feels a little bit when he's pulling his family out of the river, and so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just kind of, I don't know. I never really felt a connection to the family.
Well, yeah, they weren't on screen long enough for you to get a connection to them.
Well, even after they were brought back,
right.
I just wasn't. And like I said, to me, Alice was just as wooden as Keanu to me. I was like,
that's true.
But I kind of just looked at it as, well, she's supposed to be, because she's a clone robot type thingy, maybe,
So, did you think that she was like a more wooden, like she was acting wooden after she was cloned than before? Or do you think her whole performance was?
I think it was like the whole performance, but I do think that she was more wooden afterwards. Mm-hmm. So I think it was on purpose.
I don't know, man. She looked pretty squishy. pulling her out of that tank, she was pretty squishy, man.
Okay, whatever.
So,
She was waterlogged, okay?
Right. if you have to be, this one's, you know, and you like science fiction, and you're not like you're not an editor. I would recommend checking this one out.
Or you can turn your analytical brain off when you watch.
Yeah, there's always that.
Do you have that ability, Lewis?
Sometimes. We're gonna find out next week.
Like the fact that the science we were like, oh, the science is fine. There's no problem with that. Yeah, sure, clone someone, why not? Android body, sure. But
no.
The plot holes.
Well, the part of the plot is the science too, but we know that the science has to be those trappings,
right?
So as much as it doesn't make any damn sense, okay, fine, I have to let this go, but I can't let this other stuff go too. It's like you have the suspension of disbelief until they break that suspension of disbelief,
right?
And they just broke it.
Kind of like going into a Superman movie and believing he can fly.
Right. It's fine. But then when Lois does it, you go, wait a minute. Yeah. When did this happen? And he didn't throw her.
So on us, how would you rate Keanu's performance in this movie compared to like his other, like on a scale from like?
Well, it's hard to do that because it's about the kind of script it is and different things too. I mean, I don't think the directors were particularly great on this. I don't think they really got the emotion out of any of the actors to the level they could have. But if I had to go with other bad, really bad, Keanu Reeves, what was the one that he was in where he was like the boyfriend of the dying female? I can't remember the name of the movie.
Oh God, I can't think of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
There's that one, and there's of course Dracula. Where they expected him to do a British accent.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many movies we have not watched of his. At least I haven't.
I've seen a lot of his movies.
I haven't seen like half of the movies here that he's in. Sweet November, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yes.
With Charlize Theron.
Yep. Well, Angie makes me watch those.
You were watching for Charlize.
I know, right?
Come on.
I'm not crying. You're crying, man.
But no, that was what I was trying to think of. And then there was also I should have done a double feature and with this one and added the last time I committed suicide.
He was in a movie called that?
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
I've never heard of that one.
No.
Yeah.
Was that earlier in his career?
Yes, 97.
Okay, yeah, that was fairly really early. So
yeah, I actually he's been in a lot of movies. I mean,
Yeah, he has.
All the way back to 85. So
yeah, and he hasn't been. You could tell he gives his money away to charity because he sure as hell hasn't been spending it on acting lessons. So,
jeez. Well, it is what it is. So, but what's funny is he's in these other movies you don't realize he's in. Like, I didn't know he was in the SpongeBob movie.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Or Toy Story 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's like, huh? Okay, interesting.
It was what was he in Toy Story? He was
I forget the name of his character. He was kind of like an evil Knievel.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember that now.
All right. Yeah. So, it is what it is, like I say. But, not the worst, not the best. But if I had to say, pretty middle of the road for him, 5 or a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, John Wick is like the perfect character for him because he doesn't have to, emote that much. And he could just, kick ass like everybody wants him to.
Oh, jeez. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think, because I didn't mind him in The Lake House, Sandra Bullock. I liked him okay in A Scanner Darkly. I liked him in Hardball with the baseball team.
Yeah. Speed.
More or less okay. I mean, it is what it is there. I like Johnny Mnemonic, but then I like most of the writer. Why can't I think of his name? Anyway, science fiction writer that wrote the actual story was.
Oh, for Johnny Mnemonic, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you got to like The Replacements.
I've never watched that.
Oh, that's hilarious. But I don't know. There's just a lot of things that he's done that are interesting. That you go, what? He was in that?
But doesn't it blow your mind that like his acting has been the exact same for like 30 years.
40
years, yeah. It's like it's the same thing that makes you wonder why Lars Ulrich still can't drum when he's been in Metallica for, since 1981.
Well, Tracy's not here to argue that, so I don't know. I guess he wants to audition, right, John? He wants to
be he couldn't do any worse.
Well, so to me, drumming is kind of like this mystical voodoo stuff to me. Like it just blows my mind. And when I look at a Lars Ulrich, I'm like, oh, a monkey can do that. Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. So I think we're pretty much on that note. You guys gave him 3.5. I gave it 2. That makes it like a 2.666. Oh no, it's no.
Now I did like him in The Devil's Advocate.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was one of his better performances.
Yeah, well, when you're going up against Al Pacino, you got to raise your game.
Right.
So there you go.
Or Al Pacino just lifted everybody's game just by being there.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. But I mean, yeah. But anyway, next week we will have a science fiction double feature: Astounding Adventure, Mutiny in Outer Space, and The Human Duplicators, both by the same complete team, pretty much. Let me see here real quick.
The Human Duplicators. That sounds like the movie we just reviewed.
Doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. Both of them will be directed by Hugo Grimaldi and Arthur C. Pierce, and written and directed by both of them. So it'll be interesting to see what we come up with. They even star some of the same exact cast. So that'll be real interesting to watch.
I love these posters, the Made to Kill or Love on Command.
Yes, and what's funny is this was actually a double feature when it was released in theaters. though, this would be really interesting to see how
so it was specifically designed to be a double feature. Sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yep, that's why we're watching it that way. All right, folks. If you want to contact us, you can contact me on Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, at the Muskrat channel. I don't know, I'm just going to go up that from now on. At Lewis BrightRaven 2. DeviantArt.com /BrightRaven. Here on YouTube, Quoth Raven, Lewis BrightRaven. If you have questions, email me at quothraven.lbrcp2@gmail.com. If I don't answer, try lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. And if you want to reach John, it's grayfigaro@hotmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And the color bandit is Christopher M. Hall 1973@gmail.com. So what you guys have to say? Anything last words for the night?
Make love, not war, man.
Okay.
I can't top that.
That's right. So we'll see you next time. Quote the Raven, nevermore.
More.
Nevermore.